My name is Jeff Morgan. I am from Dallas, Texas. A couple of other bills that I want to talk about right now. There is this new movement afoot right now, and it seems to have really caught some legs among some of the so-called Christian Republican conservatives. And I say conservatives because I think that some of these conservatives may be conning you. They're conning others about what they're doing and then the purpose of their bill. But regardless, maybe we won't call them the conservatives. We'll accept them at face value. They're Christian conservatives. And I'm going to be honest with you. Some of them are people that I know. Some of them I consider friends. I've spoken with them on a number of occasions about bills. And I will also tell you that I also feel like I've been backstabbed over some of these bills that they put forth. And in particular, I want to talk about the bill, the child support from conception. Now, Representative Jeff Leach has put forth this bill. Representative Matt Shaheen has put forth this bill. Again, these are two people I know. I've talked with them. I've had special meetings with Matt. I've gone to events with both of them. I've tried to call Jeff Leach maybe half a dozen times or more. He hasn't been able to return my call. I don't know what's going on, why that is the case, because he gave me his number and everything else. I've been trying to get in contact with him off and on since last summer, and I just have not been able to do so I don't know what the deal is with that. Representative Shaheen I did meet with, and I had another meeting I was trying to set up. Unfortunately, I was out of town, but Matt has been open to this stuff. However, he still is sponsoring a bill that I think is very wrong-headed, and I want to talk about some of those reasons why. Representative Jared Patterson, another man. I've only been at meetings with him. I've never talked with him in person. Brian Hughes, Senator Brian Hughes, is doing the same type of bill in the Senate. Brian Hughes is a great guy. I've seen him at a number of things. He's been an outstanding senator. He's the chair of the State Affairs Committee in the Senate. He is sponsoring this bill, and it concerns me a lot. It concerns me a lot that we have these Christians, conservatives, Republicans who fight for faith, family, and freedom sponsoring these bills that I think are very wrong-headed and will also have very unintended consequences. We also have another guy out of Mineral Wells, Representative Glenn Rogers, Dr. Glenn Rogers. He has a bill that if you are behind on child support by a certain amount and it's not contested or something like that, you cannot run for public office. That's what he's trying to do. There is also the question as well whether child support itself is constitutional or if it's an unconstitutional grab. And I'll be at CPAC this upcoming week. There's one man there who actually brought up the issue to me a couple of years ago. I'm hoping to interview him a little bit more on the topic. You might know him as well. He used to be the call screener for Mark Levin. When I asked him about some of these issues, he came to me and said, are you talking about is child support even constitutional? I did have been in contact with him. I hope to meet him there and maybe get an interview with him about that whole thing. But we do have these 4 representatives and this one senator. I don't know Glenn Rogers at all. I've heard some things. Not everything's been flattering about him. I saw his picture and everything. He looked like a decent man. But my concern is this. We have people that are saying, well, you know what? As soon as a child gets conceived, we need to have child support from the moment of conception, and it needs to be retroactive if the person is found out to be the father. And I'm not even sure how they're going to establish paternity. It's very, very, very unclear what they're going to do. It's going to be very unclear whether DNA tests are going to be needed. It's very unclear whether somebody's going to say, hey, so-and-so is my father, and they just act on that. Or if they get somebody to sign something and then later on DNA test shows that he's not the father. But nevertheless, the way it works in Texas, if you've signed something, even when you're not the father, after you've had a paternity test, you still have to pay child support. And if you're a father and say your wife has been out there, had an affair, and you end up with a divorce and she gets pregnant by somebody else, you are the presumptive father. If you get a divorce, you still have to pay child support. And the whole issue here is that we need to be able to provide for single moms and that find themselves in a position of having a pregnancy that was not planned. Well, I will tell you from my perspective what I think this is going to do. This will incentivize more people getting pregnant. The best child support to begin with is to have both parents actively involved in their children's lives. So, and I've talked with Representative Shaheen, Representative Leach, I've talked with Senator Hughes about the issue of No-fault divorce, repealing unilateral no-fault divorce. And they are very well aware of the issue. We had a case that we sent to the Supreme Court. I sent it to Senator Hughes. I don't think I've sent it to Representative Leach and Shaheen, but I have talked with them personally. I believe that all three of them were a sponsor of the bill by Matt Krause. I think it was House Bill 93, when he was seeking to repeal no-fault divorce in the state of Texas. So they knew about it, but then the next year the next session they did not sign their name. And I asked them publicly, or privately. I went to one of their events and I said, I don't see your name here, why not? This is the big issue. If they really care about families, they would stop the family destruction industry. Right now, no-fault divorce in the state of Texas, the way that it's practiced, the way that it's legislated into law, one person can file for divorce for any reason, for no reason. They can make up a reason. They can lie about a reason. You don't even have to have a reason. You just claim this thing called insupportability. Nobody even knows what insupportability means. There are no tests to find out what if you truly is insupportable. There's no definition of what it means to have a marriage that's irretrievably broken. In fact, there is a case going back to 2001, Waite versus Waite, W-A-I-T-E, 2001, where Justice Kim Thompson Frost said that 6.001 of our Texas Family Code was unconstitutional. She was the dissent to the three-judge panel. And when I read the one judge, or the one person who wrote, who said it was constitutional, I looked at his argument, and as I recall, I thought, wait a minute, based on what he said, he really should have been taken the same position and said it was unconstitutional. What he said is that the legislature cannot dictate issues of religion, because if it was a religious liberty issue, the legislature cannot dictate on issues of religion, therefore it must be constitutional, because the person who was saying that no-fault divorce violated his religious conscience and his religious practice and his religious conduct said, well, that can't be the case because the legislature is not allowed to do that. Yet Kim Thompson Frost said that's exactly what the legislature did. And by the way, as well, Article 3, Section 5613 states that the legislature is forbidden from passing special laws granting divorce, and yet that's what we have with 6.001 in supportability of our Texas Family Code, or our Texas Anti-Family Code, our Texas Family Destruction Code. So if Representative Leach and Representative Shaheen and Representative Patterson and Representative Dr. Glenn Rogers and Senator Brian Hughes were really concerned about families in this situation, they need to go back to this issue about no-fault divorce. If they were to actually get a backbone and a spine, and look, I've talked with them, they know about the issue, they're aware of the issue. They cannot plead ignorance. I know because I've spoken with them personally. And if anyone knows throughout Texas, I probably am one of the loudest voices about this issue, so they know what my thoughts are about this issue. And yet, they will go after this child support bill. Why is this? But they will not protect families against the ravages of unjust, unilateral, forced divorce. We do have forced divorce in the state of Texas, a divorce over which there is no defense. It's a predetermined outcome, violates due process, violates a contract clause, violates religious liberty, destroys families, often kicks a parent out of the kids' lives, makes him or her a visitor, and makes them pay child support. Why are they doing this? The way that child support is collected in the state of Texas is that it usually goes through the Office of the Attorney General. And you can take a look at this. It is in the Title 4D of the Social Security Act. But basically, the money that the state of Texas collects for child support and determining on the metrics that they use, the federal government reimburses the state money. So basically what they want to do is make sure that with every divorce case, there is going to be a child support order. And again, child support is only looked at from a financial perspective. The best child support, everybody knows this, Brian Hughes knows this, Jeff Leach knows this, Matt Shaheen knows this, Jared Patterson knows it. I'm assuming that Glenn Rogers knows this. Maybe he doesn't know it as well as the other ones. But these people know the best child support is to have two parents actively involved in their children's life, preferably in an intact family, preferably in the same home. If that's not the case, the next best thing, according to most studies, is that 50-50 equal shared parenting. And once again, all of these people know this. I know because they've been addressed, because many people have talked to them about this. But they're going to be making sure that they're taking care of the single mom instead. Well, you know what? Why don't they have a bill that says, hey, if there's a single mom out there, instead of having child support, making the father a wallet, so that the state can be reimbursed money. And by the way, this to me seems to be a conflict of interest, otherwise known as corruption. When you vote for something because you know that you're going to get money back from the federal government, that is something corrupt. It's not something you can say is necessarily in the best interest of the families of the state of Texas or the individuals or the children. It's something that is in the best interest of the financial coffers of the state of Texas. And again, Jeff Leach, Matt Shaheen, Jared Patterson, Brian Hughes, and Glenn Rogers. I'm sure they know all about this. And I would love to tell them, have them come on and say, why is it that this is in the best interest of children? Is it true? Can you tell us more about the Title IV-D program? What do you know about the Title IV-D program? Do you realize that by assigning child support, the state of Texas is getting reimbursed money, and that we have metrics that we use, and that we have to get this money because it helps to meet budgets and stuff like that? Let us please have an open discussion, be transparent about this whole thing. But the big thing is this. These people have known that no-fault divorce, equal shared parenting are much more important than child support. And yet they have whiffed time and time and time again. We have not passed this yet. And why aren't they fighting for these issues? To the best of my knowledge, I don't even think that there's an equal shared parenting bill presented yet. If it is, it will be coming through Mays Middleton. But I don't believe that anything has been presented as of this point. I don't think there's a sponsor in the House at this point. Not sure what's going on there. But you have these people, if they want to act in a Christian manner, they would say what's best for the families, not what's best for the treasury of the state of Texas. And you can say, well, and I think what they're doing is this, because we did get rid of, the Dobbs decision helped to overturn Roe versus Wade, and then abortion is now something that goes back to the state. Texas wants to have abortion completely outlawed. The reality is they are having abortion drugs mailed into people in the state, so there are people that are still getting abortions in Texas. It's just self-induced through drugs that are coming in through the mail. That's why the governor had an order about that. But if you think that these pharmaceutical companies and so on are really paying attention to that, think again. And by the way, the Texas Family Law Foundation, Amy Bresnan, they support abortion. Amy Bresnan, lobbyist for the Texas Family Law Foundation, the lobbying group, Texas Family Law Foundation, she supports abortion. She's going to have a special hearing, though, on Wednesday, March the 1st, 2023. I don't know if she's going to appear personally or not. She tends not to. She doesn't like to speak. I don't know for what reason she doesn't like to speak, but the Texas Family Law Foundation, the Texas Anti-Family Law Foundation, will be there with us as a special invited guest to speak before the Juvenile Justice and Family Issues Committee, the lobbying group for divorce attorneys, the entire family destruction industry. They need to advise the state on policies that are good, not for the families, but for divorce attorneys and for the family law or the anti-family law industry. Anyway, Jeff Leach and Matt Shaheen and Brian Hughes and Jared Patterson and Glenn Rogers, again, I'm just stating what my perspective is. I think that this is a very wrong-headed bill that you're doing. I think I understand what you're trying to do, but I think you have capitulated to the communist doctrine of the Democratic Party. You know, there was one person who really said, if you're not paying your child support, we're going to get you, we're going to hunt you down. You know who that was? That was Bill Clinton.
The quiet crisis of unpaid child support is something that our country and our families shouldn't tolerate. Our first responsibility, all of us, is to our children. A father's failure to pay child support puts mothers who are raising children by themselves under terrible pressure. When I was governor and then when I ran for president the first time in 1992, I made child support enforcement a big part of my concerns. I've always asked parents to take responsibility for their children. I've always pledged to do my best to force them to do so if they refused. We have waged an unprecedented campaign to make deadbeat parents live up to their obligations. When fathers neglect support of their children, it aggravates all the other problems a family faces. There is nowhere left to run.
Are you now Clintonites? Is it Jeff Leach, a supporter of Bill Clinton? Is Matt Shaheen a supporter of Bill Clinton? Jared Patterson, are you a supporter of Bill Clinton? Brian Hughes, and again, I say these people because I know at least three of them. Are you a supporter of Bill Clinton? Are you proud to be taking up the mantle that Bill Clinton laid down when he was going to go after all the deadbeats? Dr. Glenn Rogers, what about you? You tell me. Are you a supporter of Bill Clinton? Because remember, these are supposed to be our Christian, conservative, Republican, fighting for faith, family, and freedom and they are taking up the fight proposed and initiated by Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton. This is absolutely incredible. Now, the best support for children is to have both parents actively involved in the children's life. And we know already that the state of Texas does not want that. Oh, we say that on paper. But the reality is, if people go through a divorce, what will happen is one person will be made custodial parent, another one non-custodial. Why is that? Because that helps justify the child support collections and the child support payments. With every divorce, there should be a child support order. And if you look at the Texas Family Code, section 201.107C, people say, well, the judges have to rule in the best interest of the children. Take a look at 201.107C, where it says that the associate judges are supposed to make a determination in such a way so as to maximize Title IV-D funding to the states. Look at it. In fact, I'll put it right here on the screen for you. This is the official policy of the state of Texas. Jeff Leach knows this. Matt Shaheen knows this. Brian Hughes knows this. Jared Patterson knows this. Glenn Rogers knows this. And if they don't know it, they do know it now. But why are they acting like Clintonites is the question. Is it because they want to just bring in more money for the states? Now, if they're really truthfully, if they care about the mother, the single mother, here's what they ought to be doing. They ought to be saying, okay, you have a single mother, and and you found out in time of conception that now that this is the father. What they ought to be doing is saying these two people ought to be engaged in marriage counseling, because the best thing for children is to be reared in a two-parent household with his or her or their natural mother and father. Period. That's it. For the most part, they need to be surrounded, I believe, to the degree possible, by a strong and supportive extended family, and by a society, and by a legislature, and by a government, and by anti-family judges, and by anti-family attorneys who actually support the value of marriage and know that, as research has proven again and again and again, children who come from an intact family with natural mother and father do much better in life statistically than those who do not. I'm not saying every individual case. Statistically speaking, that is an undeniable fact. And yet this child support from conception, what they're planning to do with this is going to be, because we have not addressed this issue yet, the father will be kicked out of the children's life. You're going to create single baby mamas with children. And it's not fair to them either, because as heroic as some of these single mothers are, it's too much strain for many of them to provide for themselves and to be a good mother and doing it single. Well, that's why we have child support. No, that's why you have money transfers taking place. The best child support and the best support for the single mother would be to have the two married together. Well, you can't do that. That just goes against all of our principles. Well, you know what? When you assign child support to somebody who wants to be actively involved in his children's life, and he is forbidden from doing so by the state of Texas, by laws and statutes that you have passed, you need to start looking in the mirror and address this issue. I'm 100% against this bill. I understand the alleged intent behind it. I think it's very misguided. I think it brings forth a lot of unintended consequences. And I do believe that it leads to further family destruction. You cannot be the party of faith, family, and freedom when you are destroying families. This child support from the moment of conception, and I'm not even sure how that's going to be proven, if there's going to be proof necessary. What happens if the mother decides to travel to another state and get an abortion after she's collected the money? Does she pay it back? What happens if it's found out that he's not the father, but somebody else is the father? Does he get a refund on this? Oh, no. We don't want to complicate things too much. We want to just keep it simple. Pay money. What happens if he doesn't? Is he going to be thrown in the debtor's prison that we have in the state of Texas? Look, I've been into the courts. I've watched people. I've watched one person in particular right around Christmas time. He owed child support. You know what the judge did? Threw him into jail for 45 days at Christmas time. He was married, and the mother had the kids. The mother was not allowing him to see the kids that much, but that's not an issue with us, because we just have to see the money. We don't care about the father not being able to see the kids and play an active role in the kid's life. We just want him to become a wallet Or vice versa. If the mother's doing it, we want her to become a purse. We don't care if she's actively involved in the kid's life. And by the way, because I know women who go through the same thing, mothers who've gone through the same thing. The way the system is set up right now, basically the person who is probably the better parent in many instances is the one who gets deprived and has to pay child support. And let's go at child support one more time here. Texas is one of, I believe it's only 2 states right now, I may be wrong, but they only take one person's income into account. So we'll say the mother does have a job and she makes $70,000, $80,000 a year and the father makes $50,000. Child support is based off of the income of the father if he's the non-custodial, even though the mother is making more than he is by far. And in many instances, this leads to him to be put into a place almost of poverty. I've met people, both men and women, they've had to go back, they've lived with friends, some have lived in cars for a while, some have had to go back and live with parents. And I also know from personal experience with other people that what this has done, it's caused a number of people that when they get older and they should be enjoying retirement, they have to work longer. Or their retirement, they don't have the funds there because the state did not care about it earlier. And they have not seen their kids for 30, 40 years, but they've had to pay child support for 20 years or more, depending upon what else is going on there. So they pay child support, they're not allowed to see their kids, they destroy the families, they destroy the fathers, they destroy the kids, they undermine the good things that could be happening in the children's lives. That's just what takes place. And I also want to know, again, what are the penalties for this? There was a guy, I believe his name was Walter Scott, I think he was in South Carolina, that, he was shot in the back. Why? Because when he was pulled over for a very minor infraction with his car, he started to run because he had already been in jail due to child support. And when he ran, the police officer shot him in the back and killed him. I'm just wondering how many people like this is the legislature willing to kill? Is there a certain number, 10 people being killed from running away from child support? Is that acceptable? Is it 20? Is it 50? Is it 100? What is the acceptable number? What is the acceptable number of people that be thrown in jail? What is the acceptable number of people that will end up losing their jobs because they have been thrown in jail? And they call it contempt of court, but it's a debtor's prison. If you look at the way that child support was originally set up, it is very definitely a debtor's prison. The legislature has taken lots of liberties with this. Liberties, actually, they've been tyrannical in what they're doing with this child support issue. And I am, like I said, I know Representative Leach, Representative Shaheen, Senator Hughes, Representative Patterson, I know of. I've been at meetings with them, never talked with them. Representative Rogers, I really don't know about that much. I have other people that have given me some information on him. These are people that, if they want to claim to be Republicans, please repudiate taking up the mantle of Bill Clinton. Quit trying to turn somebody into deadbeats. Quit trying to incarcerate people. Quit trying to act like you're just looking out for the interest of the single moms and everything. You have not proposed marriage. You have not gotten rid of no-fault divorce. You have not proposed 50-50 equal shared parenting. Shame on you that all you care about is this money. And once again, all of you guys, you know me, 3 of you at least know me, you have my contact information. I'd be glad to talk with you about this. The reason I'm doing this is because I realize the rapidity with which you guys can move. I've wanted to do something. By the time I would sit down and talk with you and everything else, it's going to be too late. It may be too late already, but shame on you. From my perspective, shame on you. And if you're watching this, I'm going to put up the numbers to Senator Brian Hughes. I'm going to put up the numbers for Representative Jeff Leach, Matt Shaheen, Jared Patterson, Dr. Glenn Rogers. Put them all up there. Call them. Call their office. Tell them what you think about this bill. It violates our Constitution, I believe. It violates what's good for families, what's good for children. It's, again, they're acting. Maybe they're making themselves feel good about this. I don't know. But they are incentivizing single parenthood. They're incentivizing a fatherless society. They're acting in a way to make the state money, but not to really act in what they claim is the best interest of the children. And also, too, I would say that to each one of these individuals who's proposing this wonderful program that we're going to go after these people, like Jeff Leach said, we want to have responsible fatherhood. Jeff Leach, just have fatherhood. You know how many people have begged you to say, just give us equal access to our children so that we can parent our children? You won't do that. You won't sponsor that, but you will sponsor this and then claim that you're looking for responsible parenthood. It is hypocritical. Every single one of you, this is hypocritical. If you want to act as we think you should, as a genuine Republican would act, a Christian conservative would act, not as a Bill Clinton acolyte would act, you need to pull these bills. And for those who are watching, I said contact them. The other thing you can do, I'll give a little bit of an instruction later on how to follow these bills, to find out who the sponsors are. Because there are sponsors that I think need to be contacted as well. Last time I checked, there were no sponsors there. Maybe that's a good thing, but I know Senator Hughes has already gotten his bill filed. I'm not sure what the progress is with the other ones. I'm going to say one final thing here, then I'll be done. I noticed a bill that Representative Dutton filed, that actually it is a shame, because I think that Representative Dutton, the man who was invited, the Texas Anti-Family Lawless Foundation, the Divorce Attorney Lobbying Group, have special invited testimony, had a bill that may actually be better than all of these conservatives, Republican, faith, family, and freedom individuals who represent us. It's a shame what's going on here. So anyway, contact these people. Again, Representative Leach, Representative Shaheen, Senator Hughes, feel free to contact me. I'd be glad to discuss this with you. You have not yet sponsored anything with no-fault divorce? Shame on you. And you're going to be sponsoring this thing about child support? Shame on you. I've talked with you on multiple occasions, as you know. Representative Patterson, I'd be very open to talking with you as well. You seem like a good person. Glenn Rogers, I don't know anything about you. And again, the people that I've mentioned here, at least the ones that I know, I think are good people. I think that they mean well. I think they have not considered the unintended consequences of what they are proposing. I'd like to have the discussion. As a friend, I cannot let another friend do that which is wrong and then kind of pat them on the back. I think it is a duty as a friend, as somebody who supported them, who's told other people to vote for them. You need to make this right. I would say withdraw your bills. Think this through. Hear what the people are saying. Right now, what you are doing, it's very tyrannical, and it's very likely to be unconstitutional. You guys used to be the Freedom Caucus, and now you're looking to become the slave owner caucus. That is a shame. It shouldn't be that way. Anyway, that's it. Thank you so much.